The rest of the school day moved along slowly, as it usually did on Thursdays, as everyone waited apprehensively for Friday to come along, and you continued to mope through every one of your classes. The only thing that made you feel better was the fact that you had actual concrete plans after school, which had been a first in a long time now. But still, it wasn't with Peter. Yasmin! Your head snapped away from Peter and towards the front of the class as Mr. Harrington called out your name. You felt a blush rise to your cheeks, realizing that your teacher caught you staring at Peter. Yeah? You stuttered out nervously. He glanced between you and Peter a couple times before asking, "Can you answer the question on the board?" You looked to the board, the chemical equations just swimming in your brains, not making any sense. So with a sigh, you said, "No." He hummed, "Can I have a quick conversation with you after class?" You internally groaned. Sure. Now, the thing with Mr. Harrington was that he was kind of a hopeless romantic with a very pathetic love life, and in order to compensate for that, he sometimes liked to get himself involved with his students' relationships. Not to a weird extent or anything that could get him in trouble. It usually consisted of him trying to act like Cupid for a few minutes before he'd eventually launch into another sad story about his wife, or ex, you suppose. And seeing the way that he glanced between you and Peter, you knew what the conversation with him after school would be about. Once the bell rang, signaling the end of the day, you watched as everyone hurried out the room as you hung back in your seat. Your eyes followed Peter, staring at him longingly as he quickly left the classroom without so much as a glance your way. "So," Mr. Harrington started as soon as the last student left. "Peter Parker, You stood up out of your seat and grabbed your bag. You looked to your teacher, confusion written all over your face. "What?" you asked as you approached him so you could speak properly. "Something tells me the reason you've been distracted recently has to do with Mr. Parker." You rolled your eyes. "He's my boyfriend, Mr. Harrington." "Huh." He paused as if in thought. "Oh," he said, coming to some sort of realization before a look of sympathy crossed his features. "I'm assuming you two hit a bit of a rough patch then. Don't worry, I know the feeling. I used to give the same look to my wife when she wasn't looking, but then eventually she blipped and, well, you know how that went." You put your hand up, stopping him from continuing. "Sir, thank you for your concern. I appreciate it, really, but I have someone waiting for me, so I have to go." "Oh, alright. I'll see you tomorrow. Good luck with Peter. I'm sure you'll figure it out." But silently begging with your eyes won't help. I would know. "Okay, bye, Mr. Harrington," you said, quickly hurrying out of the room before he could go on. You practically threw the classroom's door open, just to hear a loud thud and a pained groan as the door swung right back into you. Your eyes widened almost comically as you realized you threw the door into Brad's face, as he now stood with his hand over his forehead with a pained expression. "Oh my God, Brad!" You placed a hand over your mouth. "Jesus Christ, I'm so sorry," you yelled, stepping out of the classroom finally, as you went to check him over. You pulled him away from the door to the set of lockers next to it. "Are you okay?" "Yeah, I'm fine. Don't worry about it." "Jesus, I feel so bad. Let me see," you said, pulling his hand off his forehead, seeing how a red bump was already forming. "I gotta say, though, you're pretty strong," he laughed lightly. The corner of your mouth lifted and you shook your head. "You probably need an ice pack. Maybe we should ask the nurse to check you for a concussion." "No, it's fine. I'm pretty sure the nurse ran for the exit once the bell rang." You snorted. "Sounds about right. I don't know why we even have her. Do you still want to come over? I completely understand if you'd rather go home. I mean, I almost killed you." Brad laughed. No, seriously, I'm okay. We can still head to your place." "Okay, cool," you smiled. "I'll give you an ice pack when we get there." The two of you quickly left the school, falling into step beside each other. The sun shined down on the two of you, occasionally being blocked by buildings. You started. "I'm kind of impressed that your nose didn't start gushing blood when the door hit you." He laughed at that. "Trust me, if you did that back in December, my nose would have been a fountain. I get most of my nosebleeds in the winter." You laughed along with him. "Yeah, I get nosebleeds then too." "Wait," he said, getting excited. "Do you remember that one time we were both stuck in the nurse's office for like 15 minutes with bloody noses?" You gasped, remembering the incident. "Oh my God, yes! I remember that. You were just this scrawny little 8th grader at the time." "Yeah, and then a very strange 5 minutes later, we're the same age." "You can say that again," you said, rolling your eyes as your shoulder bumped into someone walking past on the sidewalk. "It seems so long ago now," he recounted. "Holy shit. That was when He suddenly shut his mouth, a red tint covering his cheeks. You looked up at him expectantly. "What? That was when you what?" You urged him to continue. He looked forward bashfully, avoiding your gaze. "You probably didn't know this, but I used to have this huge crush on you, and that was the day I started liking you. You snorted. Of course I knew, Brad. Wait, he snapped his gaze to you. You did? You giggled at his surprised face. Duh. You followed me wherever I went, and you used to give me these dumb little compliments all the time. Oh my god. He looked away in embarrassment. Hey, don't worry about it. I thought it was kinda cute. You shrugged. I remember your boyfriend at the time thinking differently. He smiled softly at that, recounting the memory. Yeah, Peter hated it. Always complained about you following me. It was kinda cute, though, seeing him getting jealous of a 13-year-old. The memory really showed you how much he had changed. Before the blip, he used to get jealous just catching Brad staring at you. And now here you were, with a Brad your age, and Peter hadn't said anything about the two of you working alone together, which he was completely aware of. Cute's not exactly the word I would use, but to each their own, he said, as the two of you finally arrived at your apartment. This is my place, you said, stopping and pointing to the building. Brad followed your lead as the two of you entered the building and took the elevator up. Alright, you said, unlocking your door and swinging it open. So my parents aren't home, and they should be back pretty late tonight, which means we pretty much have all night to get a head start on this project. Alright, cool, he hummed. I'll get you an ice pack. You can set your stuff down in the living room, you said as you made your way to the freezer. For the next couple hours, the two of you worked diligently in your living room, Brad on the couch while you opted for the floor. You both worked on different parts of the project, so it had been mostly quiet, besides the occasional joke or question that came up. It wasn't until around 6 that you finally had enough, still having to get through some other homework as well, so you decided to call it a night for the project. You let out a groan and turned onto your back, rubbing your eyes that hurt from staring at the screen of your laptop for hours. I'm exhausted, you whined. Brad hummed, looking up from his textbook at you. We can stop if you want. I mean, we're already probably way ahead of the entire class, he offered. Yeah, you agreed. I think we should call it a night, you said, flipping your textbook closed. When do you want to meet up again? He asked as he began gathering his things together. You shrugged. How about Saturday? Sure, Saturday's good for me. Hey, you said, suddenly remembering. How's your head? You asked, sitting up. Fine, he hummed. Gonna be bruised for a bit, but I think I'll live. He laughed, standing up and swinging his bag over his shoulder. I guess I'll head out now. I'll see you tomorrow. You don't know what came over you. Maybe it was the fact that you really enjoyed his company, or that you knew once he left you would start thinking about Peter again, but whatever it was enough for you to stop him from leaving so soon. Why don't you stay for a bit? You rushed out, blushing at the urgency in your tone. Brad stopped, looking down at you with a raised eyebrow, and in your embarrassment you began to ramble. You don't have to, of course. Just thought it'd be fun to hang out and talk about something other than history. He cut you off with a laugh. Sure, I can hang out for a bit, he said, throwing his bag onto the ground again. What do you want to do? You breathed a sigh of relief. I don't know, you trailed off thoughtfully before an idea hit you. Oh, wait, we can play a game. You stood up, jumping on the couch next to him. You grabbed the remote to turn on the TV and going to Netflix. My friends and I do this all the time. We basically, I guess technically it's not a game, but whatever. We just watch really awful horror movies and make fun of them. Wait, do you like horror? You asked, suddenly stopping, snapping your head to the side to look at Brad, who had a large smile on his face, finding your excitement endearing. Love 'em, he laughed. What movie are you thinking? Truth or Dare? You suggested. I haven't seen it yet, but judging from the trailers, it looks pretty awful. Yeah, it's basically a copy of Would You Rather, only with, spirits or whatever. I actually kind of liked Would You Rather, you said, typing the movie title into the search bar. But that's exactly why Truth or Dare looks awful, because like you said, it feels like it's copying. Oh, you know what movies suck? The entirety of the Saw franchise. You gasped and dropped the remote to your side as you whipped towards him. I love that series. His jaw dropped. You actually like those movies? Okay, wait. You jumped to your feet, going to stand in front of him. The franchise as actual films absolutely suck. I've seen the entirety of it 1,000 times and I still have no clue what happens in them. But the gore is amazing. You emphasized your words with large gestures and Brad fell into a fit of laughter. That's why you like those films? Of course. Isn't that why anyone likes Saw? You said, falling down onto the couch beside him again. I guess you have a point there, he chuckled. You sure get passionate about this kind of stuff. You shrugged. What can I say? I'm a sucker for stories. I love reading and watching movies. You continued typing in the rest of the movie. Oh yeah, I was gonna ask about your bookshelf, he said, pointing to the bookcase that was in the living room. How many of those are yours? You glanced towards the bookcase. The Harry Potter and Lord of the Rings are mine. Most of the Stephen King books and the classics are my dad's, but I've read all of them. Then there's a bunch of miscellaneous books. I haven't read all of them though, you said, finally clicking on the movie, and it started playing. I also have a ton of comics in my room. He looked back at you, a soft smile on his face. That's actually really impressive. You bit your lip at the change in his tone and suddenly jumped to your feet, changing the subject. I'll go get some snacks, you hummed as you raced off to the kitchen. It was by far the most fun you've had in a long time. The two of you watched the movie as the sun set, the room turning dark, making the atmosphere for the movie that much more enjoyable. You two did exactly what you wanted to, pointing out all the laughable moments in the movie that were meant to scare the audience, and you both even went off on tangents about whatever came to mind. You learned that Brad was a bigger nerd than he let on, which made many of your conversations that much more enjoyable. And for once in weeks, you found that any and all thoughts of Peter were pushed to the very back of your mind. You both eventually ended up losing interest in the movie, finding that just talking was entertainment enough. No, you shook your head. Tilt your head back more and open your mouth wider. You giggled, piece of popcorn poised in your hand, ready to launch it into your mouth. Came his broken up reply as he followed what you said. A little, perfect, you said, and you threw the piece of popcorn, which had landed perfectly on his tongue. He sat up with wide eyes on your couch as he started chewing the food. Hey, you finally got one, he laughed. You giggled. Yeah, so what's that, 1 out of 38, I think, he laughed, swallowing the popcorn. The two of you sat long ways on your couch, facing each other, both of your backs pressed against the arms of the couch opposite of each other, your legs pressed together. A loud bang from the TV grabbed both of your attention. Wait, you yelped. What happened? I think they died, Brad laughed. You watched the screen for a bit, proving that Brad was right. Why do I even ask? They always die in these kind of movies, you said with a roll of your eyes, turning back towards Brad. You faltered upon seeing the thoughtful look in his gaze as he looked at you. You furrowed your eyes. What? You said with an awkward laugh. You couldn't see it in the dark room, but he had a blush covering his cheeks. He stuttered before clearing his throat. So, I hope this doesn't come off as too forward, seeing how we really just started talking tonight, but I don't know. Hanging out with you tonight kind of showed me why I ever had a crush on you in the first place, and I was wondering if maybe you'd like to go out sometime? He trailed off, your confused gaze not helping his nerves. You started. I'm sorry, but I thought you knew. I'm with Peter. Brad became flustered. Oh my god, shit. I thought you two broke up, he muttered, running a hand through his hair. I'm really sorry. There's just been a lot of rumors going on about you two, and I just thought... Wait. You stopped him, your heart starting to beat quickly. What kind of rumors? You asked, a slight shake in your voice. Oh, you don't know? You shook your head. Well, a lot of people are under the impression that the two of you broke up a while back. I mean, the two of you don't seem to be as close as before. So others really had noticed the distance between you two. Oh, you said in a soft voice, crushed by the news. Is there something going on between you two? I don't mean to pry, but, I'm a little worried. Why would you be worried? You asked, voice colder than you had meant. It's that you seem pretty sad lately. I thought it was because the two of you broke up, but if you didn't, what's been going on? You looked up, feeling the familiar sting of tears behind your eyelids. You looked back to Brad. I don't think I can really talk about it now. You sounded broken, and Brad noticed the glassy look in your eyes. He sat up, now on high alert. You don't have to tell me. I was just wondering. I'm really sorry. I shouldn't have assumed anything. No, you said with a wave of your hand. It's fine. Don't worry about it. I'm sorry for getting emotional. I'm fine, really. You got up, bowl of popcorn in your hand as you swung your legs over the edge of the couch. Brad watched you with sad eyes, mentally beating himself up for making you upset. But he saw how much this was bothering you, and he had an urge to say something. Anything to make you feel better. Yasmin, wait, he said, grabbing your wrist before you could walk off. You turned back to him, eyes watering. He stood up to face you better, and he gently pulled the bowl of popcorn out of your hands to set it down on the coffee table. Okay, look, he started, voice gentle. I know it's not my place, and I know that we only really started to talk today, but I just want you to know that I think you deserve the world. There's a reason why I had a crush on you all those years ago and why I tried to ask you out tonight, and it's because you are so strong and beautiful, and you are such a good person inside and out. It really kills me to see you upset, and I know it must be killing your friends and family too. He paused. And once again, I know it's not my place to say this next part, and if you want to kick me out and never see me again after I do, I'll finish the project on my own and I'll be out of your life. He took a deep breath before continuing. I don't know what Peter's done, but I can tell a toxic relationship when I see one, and you don't deserve to be in pain. You shouldn't be in pain. I'm sorry, but it seems like Peter hasn't been a very good boyfriend to you. And at that admission, you completely broke. You collapsed onto the couch and started sobbing, not caring in the slightest how unattractive you must have looked. You buried your face in your hands and Brad sat down next to you. I feel like he just doesn't care anymore. Brad placed a hand on your shoulder, and I miss him so much. Ugly sobs left you as you started to violently cry in a way you never left yourself before. Everything had piled on this moment and you couldn't bottle it up anymore. I love him so much, and you felt yourself about to admit the one thing you never said out loud to anyone, not even MJ. I don't think he loves me anymore. Your heart felt heavy in your chest as you finally admitted it, and it made it finally feel real. Oh my god, you cried to yourself in realization. He doesn't love me anymore. You sobbed. Brad watched as you broke down, witnessing something he knew had to be a long time coming, and despite the fact that the two of you barely knew each other, he moved closer and pulled you into him, wrapping his arms around you tight. You were grateful for the contact and latched onto him. Gripping his shirt had at least made you feel the tiniest bit grounded. He ran a hand up and down your back as you cried into his chest. Brad held you to him for God knows how long. He stayed silent the entire time, letting you cling on to him as you finally cried it all out, as you replayed over and over everything Peter's done in the past few months. All the stood-up dates, all the empty promises, every ignored phone call and text, and the fact that he barely kissed you anymore, besides the rare kisses on your forehead or temple when you saw him at school in the morning. Your sobs eventually died down to sniffles, but you still held on tightly to Brad. His fingers had been drawing random patterns on your back as he waited for you to calm down. When he figured you were okay, he pulled back. Your face was illuminated by the TV in the dark room, showing the tear stains on your cheeks and your glassy eyes. He took a deep breath, debating on saying what he wanted to next. I think you should break up with Peter. You felt more tears build up at the thought, but you nodded your head. I think you're right. You paused, coming to a conclusion. I'm gonna break up with Peter.